This is Seth Kuhn, Solution Architect at SWK Technologies, focusing on Acumatica. Today we're going to do a 15-minute overview of the Distribution Edition. These demos tend to take more like an hour and a half to 2 hours, so this is going to be pretty high level today. But if you or your team would like to take a more in-depth look at Acumatica, please feel free to contact me or one of my colleagues, and we typically set up a discovery first just to learn more about your specific requirements and nuances and business processes, and then we'll set up a more tailored demo to you so you guys can see your company using Acumatica. But let's get in and take a look. So when I first log into Acumatica, I'm going to be taken to the homepage from my user. That's going to tend to be a dashboard, but it could be a favorites, favorite screen, or another screen that I want to go to all the time. And important to note as we come in here that each user has the access rights that you specify, right? So we can use user roles like AP Clerk to assign those access rights in bulk, but you can get very granular on the access rights that you give to each individual. So my AP Clerk come in here, you might want to see they have bills to pay, right? You'll see with this hand that I can click into this to go to those bills right away. You can also click into these charts, if you want to. Some of the other dashboards that I think help speak to what Acumatica can do. But right, my controller might want to take a look at our average days to pay, people on credit hold, overdue customers, no cash on hand. That's not good. Maybe we want to take a look at that. And then my purchasing manager, right? Even different things for them to kind of keep tabs on, and these are all editable, right? So we can add additional widgets or less, or tweak these. There you can adjust the colors as to when things might be in a warning or when they're overdue and turn to red. But again, you can take action from these widgets. You can also, you'll see here that if I click design, right, I can delete these if I have the right permission. You can also copy and paste and then riff off of those, and then you can also use this widget to build out a new metric or KPI tile for you. You can also even build pivot tables in Acumatica, which is crazy, and then put them on dashboards. But you got some different options, and it's a wizard here. It'll walk you through the different steps. My receiving clerk, I might plan on them being on a tablet, right? So maybe I don't have as much information on here. And Acumatica was designed from the ground up to be in the cloud, right? It wasn't reverse engineered to be in the cloud. So I think one of the ways that you see that is in its mobile responsiveness, right? I can even minimize this navigation if I want to. And there is an app on iOS and Android, but you can also on a tablet just pull it up in a browser. Another dashboard is the sales manager. If I want to, this is pulling more from the CRM, which we won't go into too much today, but I can see more information about the opportunities we've won or lost. I have a trend tile here, got a little meter going on. And if these do have some plug and play, if I want to or maybe just play, if I want to kind of take a better look at who my problem sales reps are, as I kind of drop some of these folks off, maybe I need to have a conversation with Michael and Jason, right, and talk about what's going on. So that's kind of a bit about dashboards. You'll see, I'm sure you've already seen that there's some different workspaces over here on the left. The one other kind of dashboard I wanted to show is just these flows. So we're in a website, and I'm happy to be in Chrome today, but you could be in Firefox or Edge or Vivaldi, whatever you want. And from these diagrams, this is how we can help our visual learners, and we can say, this is how things should flow. And from these, they're even hyperlinked. We can go take action, go create a purchase order from here, or or so on. But we're a distributor. We're purchasing things. Very generally, we're buying things, we're selling them, hopefully making a profit, and reporting on that and paying our taxes, right? Ultimately, end of the day. So let's take a look at let's jump into a purchase order and kind of take a look at what we got going on in purchasing. So, of course, you'll probably start with a purchase order in the beginning, but you could also start with a request, which would be people just saying, hey, we need more boxes, or hey, we need more K-Cups, printer paper, I need a new laptop, whatever it might be. They don't know much, right? They just know I need this thing. And then those requests can ultimately roll up to a requisition if you wanted to, where maybe we want to do some vendor bidding on our way to ultimately to a purchase order, right? So again, you can start right at a PO, or you could utilize the requests and requisitions, which can each have their own approval process, and flow, right? So if I go to a new purchase order, so if I'm starting with a purchase order, I'm going to put in my vendor, much like if I start with a sales order, I'm going to put in my customer first, right? So putting in a vendor, it'll pull in some of the location, some of the other defaults that we specify in the vendor record. I'm actually going to using that pencil icon I'm pulling up as if I wanted to add a new vendor, right? You could, from the PO screen, you could add a new vendor as you get going. And you'll see, much like the PO record itself, the vendor record also has a similar look feel, right? We have the header summary level at the top. We can, add new. We can, you can also copy and paste if you have, in this case, if you have a similar vendor and you just want to help yourself set that up. We could also have, you can have templates in here, right? So again, whether it's a new stock item, a new customer, vendor, we can use templates as well as copy and paste to go quickly. You're always going to have actions that you can take based on the record you're on, right? So from here, because it's a vendor, right, we could, hold payments, just set them up as a one-time vendor. When I actually have a vendor record, you'll see that I could create a bill or a payment from here as well. Or you can even, maybe they're also a customer, and we can take care of that as well. We're also going to have, we talked a little bit about these inquiry screens or the data views based on, the record. And then we can also have reports, right? Maybe we want to look at the AP aging and the vendor profile. We can also have notes and file attachments, up at the header summary level, right? So, let's call this a header note. And then you can also even add a pop-up note. This was a request that came from the Acumatica community. Acumatica saw it and they said that's a great idea. Everybody upvoted it, and it came to be. They got it in the roadmap. But this would, adding a pop-up note would then say, when you go to create an invoice, this note would come right up on that vendor, right? And that's true on customers too. So that if you're creating a sales order for this customer, you need to know this. Pay attention. So this is, again, this is just our vendor record. And I just bring that up to show that, as we're entering it here, again, it's going to populate and pull in a lot of those defaults from that record. As I, enter details down here, you've got this detail view, or you can switch to the form view if you'd like to see, all the different fields at a glance. Acumatica does have a project accounting module, so if you need to tag specific projects or tasks, you can do that as well. And then you can also, so if I know when I'm purchasing, right, let's call it the old Acer laptop here. This inventory ID, this stock item, much like the vendor, has a lot of information and default GL accounts and so on it. It also knows who my preferred vendors are. And it has different information on it that kind of helps me as I'm going through the system, handle some of the accounting and batches and so on, things like that. And you'll also see here that anywhere you see this button in Acumatica, you can export to Excel. Of course, we don't want to maintain data in Excel, but you might need to there's always cause to take it there and do some VLOOKUP magic or something. But I could also load in, if I had a larger PO, I could load it in from here and then process it, right? So once this PO has been created, I could email this to somebody. Why don't we go ahead and save it so this can show up. Didn't put an order quantity. You'll see that the system will give you nice prompts just to make sure, and that helps with keeping data clean and so on. So now you can see that I have some other options, right? So we could email this purchase order directly or recalculate the prices. And then again, you do have reports here as well. So I mentioned the notes on the vendor record, and I did mention the file attachments, but I didn't actually attach one. But on any of these records, you can browse and upload from your computer. You could even link to an existing document in here if you want to, or you can upload using your mobile app which is nice. If you say you have have something on your desk and you need to get it into the system, you click this button, and if you have the mobile app, it'll prompt you to take a picture. You take it, and then it'll save it right to this record. So that's pretty nice as well. If we go into the just for the sake of time, I'm going to jump over to sales orders, which is similar to a purchase order in the look and feel you'll see here. But I'm going to start with a customer, right? So let's just pull in our generic customer here. You'll see it pulls in a default location that I've specified on that customer. But if you had different locations, you could that you might be shipping to for that particular customer, you could do that. Within the customer record, I'll just pull it out briefly. You can also have parent and child customers. If you say have national accounts and you want to kind of consolidate the billing and so on. And right, much like we looked at a vendor, notes, file attachments. I've got my different tabs of detail, different buckets of detail, right? So our terms, credit, our credit limits, and so on. If I have a different billing contact than a shipping contact, right, we can manage all our contacts, but also even our particular billing and shipping information, right? If we have salespeople on particular customers, we can break that out, and you can also even break that out by particular customer locations, right? So maybe in New York, this one sales rep's on it, but then in Pennsylvania, another sales rep is, and so on. One thing I didn't mention, haven't mentioned yet on these records, is that you can also have activities. So activities are a way for us to, one, get out of email a little bit, because we can assign things to each other in the system, where we can then see those tasks on our dashboard or even on our mobile device. But this helps give everybody visibility into what's going on, for them. So if it's someone doing AR collections, right, they can see what's going on with the customer. If it's someone doing customer support, or if it's a salesperson wants to try to sell them something, but then they can come and see, oh wait, there's some AR collection stuff going on, or maybe there's a support case, right? So this is a way to give everybody visibility into what's going on in the system. It also gives us, can give us some accountability or chronicle of the times, right? I could assign a task, and the system can show, well, Jim asked Seth to reach out to this a customer, and he never did, right? So. But anyway, back to the sales order. As I start to add details, which again, you can just start typing, and it will do some suggestive kind of search for there for you, so you can populate that stock item. You can also configure these columns if you want to, using this column configurator. So if I want to move certain things around, I can do that, or drop certain things off. I don't need to see the sub account right now. You can use this column configurator, and you notice that you can even say skip this when I'm tabbing through. Skip this tab, which that's kind of cool. It's the little things, right? So I'm going to add just one laptop to this order here, and you'll see, right? Of course, we still have these different tabs of detail for this order. You'll also notice that down here it's showing me how many of these computers I have on hand, right? It's giving me insight into the inventory, how many are available for shipping versus on hand versus available. You can see any commission information based off of how we had it set up on the customer, right? And then you can also even shop for rates here on the sales order, or maybe we just why don't we just select a ship via for now, right? We could indicate whether we wanted to use insurance or the customer's account, right? And then any discounts that may have been given will show up here. And then if we wanted to take a prepayment, we could as well. Once I save this, but I'm going to go right ahead and create a shipment. You'll see that it prompts you for a shipment date. Maybe this is going to go out tomorrow based on the cutoff times, right? And you can even choose a different warehouse if you want to. And so when I create the shipment, it's going to, as you might expect or hope, it's going to bring all the details over to the shipment record, right? So we've got the reference of the sales order, we've got the inventory item that we're working with, and the customer and the location information. I'm going to go ahead and, if you, the system automatically assigned a package, but you could choose a package if you wanted to. You could also print the pick list from here, right? But I'm going to go ahead and confirm this package. I would definitely need a declared value, especially if I wanted insurance. But let's go ahead and shop for rates here. Acumatica does have an out-of-the-box integration with FedEx and UPS and USPS through stamps.com. You can also use a system like Ship Engine to get more wholesale rates than retail. And there, if you do LTL, there are integrations with Starship and PaceJet and folks like that. So happy to talk through that with you. So we've got our FedEx ground selected, and so once I have that rate selected and that ship via, when I go to confirm the shipment, you'll notice that it's going to go out and pull in the tracking number for me, as well as the label itself, right? So if you're using the e-commerce integration too, this shipment could then update in BigCommerce or Shopify or whatever it might be, and here you can see that the FedEx label, it just pulled it right in, right? Pretty nice. Once the shipment is confirmed, sales order's gone to a complete status, and again, all these things can communicate with other, third parties if you needed to. And then the next step here would be to prepare an invoice, which we can then, request a payment or put a payment on it if they didn't do a prepayment already. Payments and invoices in Acumatica can have many to one or one to many because they are their own record, kind of independent. But I like to show the invoice just because here we have the shipment number. We could go right to it. We've got the order number. Still have that inventory ID as well. But then we can also put notes on this and again, file attachments or activities if we need to, go get payment for this. You could also email the invoice right from here, right? Or, if you want to, you can, print the invoice and snail mail it to them if that's their preferred way to get invoices. The invoices, anything that's customer or vendor facing, uses the Acumatica report designer. So you can format these, we can change the colors, we can put your logo in there. You can also use the notes in the detail level. So we had the header notes, but you could also use these detail notes if you need to put something on that invoice. It can automatically print there. One other thing I wanted to mention is just that there are different sales order types. So, that was kind of a standard sales order workflow where we created a shipment, confirmed the shipment, and then, created an invoice and released an invoice. But, if you deal with returns or maybe you want to deal with, maybe you want to have a quote, right? So there's two different ways we can do quotes in Acumatica. This would be a sales order type quote for an existing customer. But if you wanted to, there's also quotes in the CRM, right, where we maybe are kind of negotiating, going back and forth. We have the document details, creating quotes, but then ultimately that opportunity, we can create a sales order from that opportunity. But right, here's some different, you see some different return types: return for credit, return with replacement of the same item, or maybe we're going to do a return and then give them something else. We can also tag, again, e-commerce orders as a different type of order type, and these can each kind of have some of their own behavior, right, as to what's the next action, things like that. So that's all I wanted to cover today as far as purchasing and sales orders. From an inventory perspective, right, we've got inventory receipts. So if we don't do a PO and a purchase receipt, we can just do inventory receipts to receiving inventory. We can also do issues and adjustments or transfers. You can do kits in Acumatica, where you have kit specifications, and then maybe I want to assemble some kits to put on the shelf, right? These are some of the automated operations that are available in the mobile app. WMS, right? So again, if we want to, receive and put away, scan and issue, scan and receive, we can use the app that's available on iOS or Android to either use our camera to do scanning or get a Zebra scanner and use the laser. Important to know that we have stock items and non-stock items, right? So stock items we're going to actually track inventory of. Non-stock items we're not going to. But we can also have stock kits and non-stock kits. As far as warehouses have locations, under them, and we can, we can have things, we can have certain items when we receive them default to particular bins or locations within the warehouse, right? So this warehouse, we have a receiving and a shipping location as well as an RMA location, right, where these things go to. You can also set up carts and totes within a given warehouse, and you can specify default GL accounts to use for particular warehouses. And right within these different locations, we have some options as far as whether we, allow transfers or receipts and pick priority as well, right? Again, right, if we ever need to take this out to Excel or import from Excel, we can. We can also, even have file attachments down here on the locations. Another thing in the inventory is just physical count. So, you're going to set up two things you kind of use to set up the physical counts. We have our cycles. How often are we going to do it? Is it once a month, once a week, once a year? And then our types of physical inventory counts. ABC code, right? Are we assigning an A, B, or C to different items? And then we do those counts. A calendar count, right? We just do it every so often. Full inventory count, right? Hopefully that's not too often for you. But then we can also, you'll see how it's generating here. Are we using the inventory ID itself? Are we using a category or type or group of inventory? Are we using a movement class? Are we using the cycle itself or the ABC code? And then here we have a selection method where we're saying, give me only the things that actually have a negative book quantity, or you can just say, give me everything, give me the whole list. And then once you prepare that physical count, essentially freezes the inventory of those items that you have selected. You can then print the count sheets with or without the balance that should be there, if you want people to see how much there should be or not. And then when you enter those amounts, it will adjust your inventory valuation, accordingly. You can also print labels, right, when you receive inventory from the system to put barcodes on it or whatever it might be. Let me just pull up a stock item real quick just so we can kind of see, you've seen a record to this point a few different times, but the stock item itself has some of its own details on the item. Again, remember, classes think of those as groups or categories, right? So we can categorize or group our items, and here you have even subcategories or subclasses specifically in the stock item area. Different units of measure, and we can specify what those units of measure on any given item. Right, we can specify what the default warehouse receipt to and issue from are. You can also have tax categories on different items and different posting classes. Lot and serial tracking, you've got some different options, right? It's pretty configurable in the system. And then from a costing method, right, or valuation method, right, we can do standard, average, FIFO, or specific. And that you can do that for any given item, right? You can mix it up. Is this item subject to commission? Here's some of our pricing that we have available. The warehouses, right? Where is this item going to live, and where's the default location for this item? Are there particular vendors that we can buy this item from? And then again, you can specify a default vendor. And then the lead times will actually calculate in the system based on when you issue the PO and the purchase receipt. And then you can also say, well, I'd like to add a little bit of lead times there. A lot of these settings, minimum order quantity, maximum order quantity, will inform the replenishment suggestions that you get, right? So if we all of a sudden need 10 more computers, but our minimum order quantity is 25 because we get a better rate, then we can inform the system with these different fields to make more intelligent suggestions. Attributes are user-defined, are similar to user-defined fields in Acumatica in the sense that they're tied to the item class, right? So, anytime you put in a new computer, these are the attributes you might be prompted for that might come up. If you want to specify default packaging so that to kind of help the fulfillment process or your 3PL, you can do that. Cross-reference, this is where if a vendor or a customer has a different part number, then, we can, when that comes in, the system knows that is, we call it this, right? Even though they call it that. And that's also where you can specify barcodes, even for different units of measure, whether it's in each, a box or a pallet. Again, there's also, as with the customer vendor, you can specify particular GL accounts for any given item. So I think that's about it for inventory for today. Last thing I just want to talk about kind of briefly is just accounting, which probably half of you are going to 80% you're going to drop off now at this point. But we have a master financial calendar where we can have a soft and a hard close, right? So if it's closed, the period's closed, nobody can post to it unless you're a super finance user. Ultimately, then when we lock it, nobody can post to it. Of course, you can reopen and unlock it if you have the right permissions to do so. And you'll see here, you can close by module, and you can also have a 13th period as an adjustment period if you want to, but that is optional. We have your chart of accounts, right? Our natural accounts, where we also have account classes or groups of accounts that we can use to build out our reports. We've got with our financial reports, we're using row sets, column sets, and then unit sets, which if you think about a consolidated report, but then I want to break it out into what? Do you want to break it out into different companies and branches? Do you want to break it out into departments or product groups? Well, that's where our sub-accounts can come into play too. You'll see here that the system has two different sub-account segments or dimensions that we can use within our reports to break out our consolidated reporting, right? So if I was tagging different items in the system to my different departments, then at the end of the day, I could see my consolidated report, and I could have these using these units, the unit sets tied to these sub-accounts. I could, see I just want to see my, operations P&L, right? We can do that using the sub-account segments. Similarly, if I want a P&L by different groups of products, or maybe you have different profit centers or business units, right? We could break that out and tag those. You can also use these sub-account segments for, budgeting and so on. So when it comes to sub-accounts and dimensions, you've got some options. This system is just using 2 segments, 3 characters each, totaling 6. It can be alpha numeric, and you can go up to 30 total characters if you want to. You really shouldn't need to, because in this system, in Acumatica, your companies or branches do not need to be part of your sub-accounts or dimensions, and neither do your customers or vendors or employees. So there's a lot of things that don't need to be in your sub-account string, which you do have to in older systems. Just real quick let me just briefly mention, we have time cards and we have expense receipts that can roll up to expense claims or reports, and they can go for approval. This is particularly handy on the mobile app where you can capture the picture and so on. Acumatica has added in recent times the ability to send in documents from Outlook for OCR scanning. Similarly, the advanced expense receipt module can scan the receipt to try to find the date and amount and vendor and so on. So getting pretty nice. On these expense receipts, you would use the non-stock items like business lunch or travel, things like that, to kind of help your accounting department have the GL accounts tied to those, but people don't need to know how to code it, right? They just know it was lunch. Again, the CRM is an additional module to the distribution suite, so I don't want to spend too much time on that, but right, we can have opportunities where we generate quotes and track the activities that have been taken, whether we've talked to them or not. Right, so if we have a quote for a custom order, right, similar to how we've had a record here, we can see the different activities that have happened. We can see our quotes that we, again, maybe we have multiple quotes as we negotiate and work toward closing it. We can send it right from here, and then you can, ultimately you can mark it as closed won, and then this can become a create a sales order right from here, which is pretty nice. It's got stages, right, for what percentage likelihood. This is nice, having it in your ERP is nice, because then we can say, well, if it's a negotiation and that's 85% likelihood, then we're pretty sure that that's coming, and so that can help our purchasing folks know that that's imminent, things like that. That's pretty much it for today. I've gone way over 15 minutes and went way too much into detail as I normally do. But again, if you'd like to see your own demo, or I'm sure you have questions based off of what we saw here, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is Seth, seth.kuhn, and as in Nancy, at swktech.com. I'm sure it'll be up on the screen here somewhere. And yeah, would love to show you more about Acumatica. Love this product. I even sold it to my mother. So that shows you how much I do. Anyway, have a great day, and thank you for your time.